We are in New York, and just 7 days ago, Dr. Doom declared himself the Emperor of the world. Not only that, but he also crowned himself the Sorcerer Supreme and unified the entire planet under a single banner, United Latveria. And then, just like that, he vanished. Earth's mightiest heroes, including the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, joined forces and launched 2 attempts to stop him in Latveria. Both failed, because Doom expected them to come. He planned for it. Now a full week has passed. Reed Richards has locked himself in his lab, working desperately to find a solution. If you'd like to support our comic videos, the Super Thanks option is available. Your support helps us bring you more thrilling stories like this one. Now, back to the story. Ben Grimm and Sue Storm are getting their kids ready for school. Despite everything, life must go on. As Sue watches her children leave, she wonders, can life ever truly return to normal after what Doom has done? But they have families who depend on them. They can't just stop. Ben notices the worry on Sue's face and suggests taking the day off. Just the 2 of them. No kids, no stress, no Doom. Sue hesitates at first, but eventually agrees. They invite their friend, She-Hulk, to join them. The moment She-Hulk sees them, she grins and shouts,
Sue, Ben, God, is it good to see you two?
She pulls them both into a hug. Sue smiles and responds,
It's been too long, Jen.
They head to a nearby restaurant, settling into their seats. As they start their conversation, Sue asks about She-Hulk's relationship with Jack. She-Hulk blushes, admitting that things are going well. She talks about how she's building a life with someone she truly loves, and how it gives her a sense of strength. But then, her smile fades as she recalls waking up one morning to discover that Doom had taken over the world overnight. She even banned phones from her bedroom after that. No bad news before coffee. Sue's mood darkens again, but Ben quickly shifts the conversation, reminding them that today is about forgetting Doom for a while. Just then, the waitress arrives to take their order. Ben, wanting to save time on refills, jokes about ordering an entire pot of coffee. The waitress grins, saying she had already started brewing it as soon as she saw him walk in. Their brunch arrives, and they enjoy their meal as Ben entertains them with a wild story.
So I punched the guy in the face, pow, and that busts us out of the illusions, and it's all thanks to that damn dog.
She-Hulk laughs.
Aha, Ben, tell me you kept her.
Ben nods, admitting that he couldn't bring himself to let her go. She-Hulk finds it hilarious, calling them a dynamic, crime-fighting duo. As the conversation continues, Sue seizes the opportunity to bring up Doom, asking She-Hulk how any of this is even legal. She-Hulk sighs, explaining that none of what Doom is doing follows any legal framework. But laws don't mean much if no one enforces them. She points out how world leaders have given Doom all the room he needs, despite the clear violations. Ben shakes his head in disbelief, arguing that laws are supposed to apply equally to everyone. She-Hulk leans forward, reminding him that law enforcement isn't always absolute. Zero-tolerance policies often do more harm than good, and no system can fully account for the complexities of human nature. Before they can continue the discussion, the waitress places the bill on the table and hesitantly asks if they were talking about Doom. Ben pulls out a card from his pocket and pays the bill. The waitress watches him closely and comments that someone like Doom should be behind bars, not walking around freely and trying to take over the world. She believes someone should put a stop to him. Sue responds that they are doing their best. As Ben swipes his card, the waitress hands back the receipt and gestures toward a man sitting outside on the road. She admits that, despite her dislike for Doom, at least he is taking action against the vampires. She mentions the man outside, saying he is out there every day. Her tone becomes harsh as she expresses her disgust for the vampires, recalling how they tried to kill everyone just months ago. To her, they are monsters pretending to be victims. She ends the conversation and wishes them a good day. As Ben, Sue, and She-Hulk step out of the restaurant and walk down the street, She-Hulk brings up the waitress's words. She notes that remnants of the blood hunt are still around. Sue agrees, but Ben remains hopeful, believing things will settle down. She-Hulk questions his optimism, wondering how that could happen. Ben explains that Doom is using the vampires as scapegoats, creating a common enemy for people to hate. But he trusts that people are inherently good and won't fall for Doom's manipulation for long. Further down the road, vampire parents clutch their children and run in terror as an angry mob chases them. Someone shouts that one of the vampires ate a pigeon. The terrified vampires cry out, pleading for their lives, insisting they are just hungry and do not want to hurt anyone. Desperate, the vampire family takes cover behind Sue, She-Hulk, and Ben, begging for help. They explain that they had no choice. Their children were starving. Sue immediately creates a force field around them to protect them. The mob reacts with fury, demanding that the vampires be killed. Someone yells that they do not deserve to live. Ben tries to calm the crowd, insisting that no one is killing anyone, but the mob turns on them, calling them hypocrites. One man reminds them that Reed Richards, Sue's husband, fought against the vampires right there on the streets. Another points out that Johnny Storm took down an entire group of them in Arizona because he knew it had to be done. She-Hulk steps forward, drawing a line between past and present. She reminds the crowd that the law has always made a clear distinction between self-defense and mob murder. Ben supports her, saying that while many things in the world are uncertain, one thing remains true. When She-Hulk speaks, it is always wise to listen. Sue leans toward She-Hulk and quietly states that they are going to escort the vampire family away, and then the crowd can return to their jobs, homes, and families. She urges them to give themselves a second chance, all of them. Before they can act, a devoted follower of Doom suddenly leaps over Sue's force field and stabs both vampire parents. Sue instantly traps the attacker in another force field, but the rest of the mob begins climbing over, trying to break through. They argue that this is not murder, insisting that vampires are already dead. They chant that Doom is the only one protecting them. As the situation spirals out of control, Sue takes a deep breath. Acting quickly, she pulls the vampire children, She-Hulk, and Ben close, then lifts her force field into the air, carrying them all away while the mob below continues chanting in support of Doom. Later, Sue takes them all to the Baxter building. From there, they travel to Arizona, where the vampire children play happily with Johnny Storm and Alicia Grimm. Meanwhile, Reed Richards discusses the situation with Ben, noting that their immunity to sunlight had previously helped control their bloodlust, but that may be fading. If that is the case, everyone is in danger. Ben starts to protest, saying that vampire or not, they are just kids. But before he can finish, a young vampire girl named Brooke interrupts him. She hesitantly calls out to Reed. Reed kneels beside her, gently asking how she is doing and if she is getting along with her new friends. Brooke assures him that everything is fine, but then hesitates before asking if he can do her a favor. Reed smiles warmly and tells her that he will do anything she needs. Brooke looks at Reed and pleads, asking him to fix her and her brother somehow.
We are both broken in the same way.
Reed's voice wavers as he listens, struggling to respond. But before he can say anything, Sue steps forward and reassures Brooke that she is not broken. She-Hulk joins in, insisting that she is perfectly fine just the way she is. But Brooke, clearly distressed, shakes her head. She insists that people always say that, but it is not true. She explains that she and her brother experience hunger differently from other children, an unbearable, overwhelming hunger that consumes them. When they are starving, nothing else matters. Her voice trembles as she confesses that even the pigeon they ate last time was not enough. Ben Grimm quickly lifts her up and rushes inside, promising that they will find a solution. He turns to Reed, asking if he can fix this. A short while later, Brooke and her brother lose control. their hunger overtakes them, making them scream and thrash wildly. Sue acts fast, trapping them inside a force field with the help of Ben Grimm and She-Hulk. Meanwhile, Reed rushes to his lab and begins working on a cure. After some time, Reed develops what he believes to be a stable formula. He explains to Sue that it consists of 4 plant-based synthetic globins designed to chemically mimic hemoglobin for the digestive system. Sue hesitates, questioning if it is safe. Reed assures her that while it is not a cure, it should allow them to live a normal life again. Stretching his arm through the force field, Reed offers the formula to Brooke and her brother. The starving children pounce on it, devouring it hungrily. As they eat, they begin to calm down, their hunger finally easing. Brooke, still craving more, states that she wants to eat it again later. At last, a breakthrough. The treatment works, ensuring that no vampire will ever go mad from hunger again. The children soon recover enough to play with She-Hulk and Ben Grimm, the crisis seemingly over. Time passes quickly. Reed immediately distributes the formula worldwide to prevent a future catastrophe. Meanwhile, Sue, Ben, and She-Hulk work to locate the children's surviving family members. After finding them in New York, they leave Brooke and her brother in their care, giving them a safe place to heal. With this success, Dr. Doom's propaganda about vampires collapses entirely. Later, Sue, Ben, and She-Hulk walk through the streets, reflecting on everything that has happened. Sue sighs, acknowledging that there is still a lot left to fix. Ben agrees, but points out that Doom is in charge now. Sue remains hopeful, insisting that it is only temporary. For now, at least, things feel a little better. Ben shares her sentiment, believing that people will eventually see Doom for who he truly is, and his empire will fall. Before parting ways, She-Hulk expresses how much she enjoyed being back with the team. Sue reassures her that she never really left. She has always been part of the Fantastic family, and always will be. She-Hulk smiles and responds that Sue is part of her family too, though not literally, joking about their family's history of distant cousins turning into Hulks. With that, She-Hulk heads off, telling Ben,
Next time, I'll bring Jack. He wants another face-off in Punch Club.
Ben smirks and jokes that he will bring Alicia because he wants no part of those punches. After She-Hulk leaves, Ben and Sue talk about how, despite everything, today felt like progress. Sue suggests they head home. The next morning, Ben and Sue get their kids ready for school. As they step outside to send them off, they notice something unsettling. From a nearby house, children emerge wearing outfits inspired by Dr. Doom. Their home is decorated with Doom's flags and banners, and with that, the story ends.